More example on finding the selected term. So for this question, I need to get the coefficient of x power negative 1. X power negative 1 is a selected term. Now you do have the option of expansion. Okay, this is definitely one possible way. So your power 7 means you're going to get 8 terms, but you would not know where the x power negative 1 is. So for this, you have to expand fast to be able to get the term. Otherwise, there are some steps that you may try to follow so as to do a second method. The second method is by the general term. So you have two ways of doing this kind of questions. Either you expand, get the term out, or you shall use the general term to target directly the term itself. So the first step is always to apply the general term. So when you fill up the general term, you always fill up the N, A, B first. The unknown will always be R. The unknown will always be R. That means you have to find R. The idea of applying general term is always to find R. Okay, the idea is always to find R. They did not tell me that this is the 6th term or 7th term or 8th term. I do not know which term is this. Hence, I wouldn't be able to tell you what's the value of R. I have to find the value of R. So first step, write down general term. Second step, pull out the term with X. My habit is only to pull out the required items. Some schools will want the students to write everything out, but I will prefer to just write out whatever is essential. Now X power 2, then 7 minus R, I write it out at the numerator. The X power R, I wrote it at the denominator. So I pull out all the x with the index. And to go from here to here, I'm using indices. Expand, this is 14 minus 2r. 14 minus 2r minus r, you get 14 minus 3r. So in general, when you simplify your general term and you group all the x together, your x shall look like that. So this portion, I have already grouped all the x together. Now the x should be your x negative 1. Remember, this format is how each and every term of the binomial expansion look like. I'm going to go for the x power negative 1. So whatever that you have found earlier on, you have to equate to the required term. So when we say equate to whatever the question asks for. And that allows you to find R. So you equate this to x power negative 1. Solve the value of R. Since we know R, we will know which term. Okay? Now, when R equals to 5, it's actually called the 6th term. It's T6. It's the 6th term. Now, after you have found R, you always have to substitute the value of R back into the original question first because they wanted you to find coefficient. Now, maybe for this time, I will write out the entire format for you first after I group the whole thing together. So with regards to your general term, I shall now write out again 7 choose R, x power 14 minus 2R, negative 2 power R, followed by x power R. Now I have grouped the x together, as you can see in my step number 2. So if I go one step further, 7 choose R, the x I've combined them into 14 minus 3R, followed by your negative 2 power R. So once you simplify your general term, it's going to look like that. So each and every single term of your expansion all look like that. In particular, the binomial coefficient, I'm going to highlight in green color. The green color portion are your binomial coefficient. So when you found R, sub the R back into the general term. Okay? So 7 choose 5. Negative 2 power 5. It is now at 0.4. So when you sub the R back into the general term, you're going to evaluate something called coefficient. And I'll highlight again, you are trying to press calculator for the binomial coefficient. So 7 choose 5, negative 2 power 5, press calculator is the binomial coefficient. Now this way allows you to find the value of R and the term itself without doing expansion. Some people may want to think that, okay, I don't want to learn number 2, I will just learn how to expand. But there are some questions whereby you have no choice but to do this way. Okay, you have no choice sometimes. So you have to learn both ways to find selected term. You either expand or you practice the steps to find the specific term.